One man's fascination with whales leads him into two hidden worlds. The first in the South Atlantic. In a remote kingdom of ocean giants, one of nature's most dramatic spectacles unfolds in an instant of fierce surprise. Join one man's extraordinary odyssey through the least known realm on Earth. Undersea naturalist, adventurer, and filmmaker Theodore Pitcairn shares his unique vision of the ocean wilds. Few places appear more desolate than Patagonia, a wind-swept plateau in southern Argentina. But along the coast, an extension of the plains called the Valdez Peninsula juts 75 miles out into the South Atlantic, creating an isolated coastline and two protected bays. These conditions draw to this remote corner of the ocean one of the world's greatest gatherings of marine mammals. For southern sea lions, Valdez serves as an immense playground. After traveling thousands of miles to document the wonders of marine life here, undersea filmmaker Theodore Pitcairn is blocked by an inquisitive greeting party.
Immediately, I sense a world of extraordinary vitality, but I feel like an alien at a border inspection. They can't interrogate me, so they nip at my suit and try to figure out exactly what I am. It's not painful, but I won't be able to explore with this mob around me.
Slipping away, Pitcairn confronts the creature he's hoped to find. The southern right whale is one of the ocean's most elusive giants. It spends half the year at Valdez, then vanishes, perhaps migrating to feed on plankton and krill in Antarctica, but no one knows for certain. Dubbed by whalers the right whale to hunt, the slow-moving 50-foot behemoth was an easy target. Only a few thousand remain, perhaps the fewest in number of all great whales. It can be easily observed only at Valdez, its largest remaining breeding spot.
My goal is to document right whale mating behavior and calf rearing, which means observing from a distance and diving daily for weeks at a time in the hope some mystery will be revealed. The work is frustrating. Often days pass without so much as a glimpse of a whale in the shallow bays of Valdez. Searching in vain for a colossus, I find only a crab. I follow it for a few moments. Then suddenly, something bangs my head from behind. I whirl around for the surprise of my life. A right whale on top of me. If he drops lower, I'll be crushed against the bottom. But he merely hovers, looking me over. He must have been following me as I tried to find him. Perhaps he came to investigate my bubbles. I don't know his intent, nor can I interpret his message as he leaves.
Occasionally, lone adults swim right up to Pitcairn's boat, as if sizing the humans up, exposing the unique double spout whalers look for as the sign of a right whale. Underwater, too, day after day, the whales, often two at a time, veer from their paths to gaze at Pitcairn. When he approaches for close-ups, they halt in the water, as if posing. Alone among whales, rights are marked along their heads by white, cake-like growths composed of keratin, the same substance that forms human hair and fingernails. These natural patches occur roughly where facial hair does on humans, and differ in size and location, making identification of individual whales possible. Along the contours of the head crawls an army of crab relatives called whale lice, for which the whales serve as moving habitats. It's believed the lice feed on keratin and skin that continually peels away, creating the whale's mottled appearance.
I suspect from the way it behaves when accidentally touched that the right whale has extremely sensitive skin. I wonder if it's bothered by the lice infesting it. Like Gulliver, it seems helpless against its tiny attackers. Despite its immensity, I feel a twinge of sympathy seeing the giant pestered by seagulls. When it surfaces to breathe, they swoop down to peck at its loose skin. Lacking any defense, the whale can only endure the aggravation or sink beneath the shelter of the sea. What does a right whale think about looking at me? Why does it seem so curious? It's a strange feeling to be scrutinized by a wild animal that can weigh 70 tons. What's going on behind that huge, inscrutable eye? Does it regard me as a kindred being, or merely a distraction?
Sporadically, the surface waters erupt in vigorous activity. Unlike most animals, right whales may breed all year, though they seem especially ardent during their summer gatherings at Valdez. But courtship can be complicated. A male attempts to mate from below, but the female turns upside down to escape his unwanted advances. Rolling at the surface, she may rebuff an entire pack of eager males. For now, his penis presented in vain, the male is avoided. But during her stay here, the same female may accept the attention of several other suitors each day. One of those unions will produce a calf to be born a year from now. Though no right whale birth has ever been witnessed, it is believed to occur in the protected shallows of Valdez. While right whales cavort offshore, another ocean giant emerges from months at sea to breed in the seclusion of adjacent beaches. Valdez is the only place on the South American continent where colonies of elephant seals leave the water to mate and give birth. For 3 months, they turn the quiet shore into a scene of belligerence and confrontation. A dispute between two mothers flares up without apparent reason and just as quickly is forgotten. Largest of all the seal family, the southern elephant seal bull can reach 20 feet and 4 tons. Its season ashore is mostly spent dueling with other males for control of a harem. Bachelor males lurk constantly at the edges of a colony in hope of seizing control from the current harem ruler. Some may pass their entire lives as frustrated onlookers. The beachmaster, meanwhile, may serve from 10 to 50 females. Within days of giving birth, while still nursing, a female may again be pregnant. It's a perilous time for a new pup, which can be inadvertently crushed by mating adults. But within a month, the milk it seeks, one of nature's richest, will swell it from 70 pounds to nearly 300. Consumed by the drive to mate, bull elephant seals avoid eating during the 3 months ashore, sustained the entire time by their 6-inch layer of blubber. Bachelors are left with little to do but issue vocal challenges to the beachmaster. The strange snout that inspired their name is found only on males. It may serve no other purpose than to make them look and sound fierce. As his challengers look on, the beachmaster moves from female to female, dwarfing mates less than a quarter his size.
I feel as though I'm watching the forces of evolution at work. Before me, the mightiest male of the colony sires the next year's offspring, passing on the traits that made him a successful gladiator and hunter, and a survivor of diseases and predators that killed many of his peers. The best genes will shape the next generation. A striking example of the survival of the fittest.
Perhaps thinking there is an opportunity to sneak into the harem while the dominant male relaxes after mating, a bachelor makes a move, but is quickly driven away by the alert beachmaster. A second invader moves in among the females at the other end of the colony. Beachmaster threatens him with an aggressive posture and a roar of warning. This intruder, however, is not so easily dispatched. He refuses to withdraw. His dominance at risk, the beachmaster has no alternative but to fight. Few bulls die, but the slashing combat leaves most badly scarred. Though some battles go on for nearly an hour, most are over in less than a minute. Like sumo wrestlers, the victor is not always the strongest or the most aggressive, but the one who holds his ground. When a moment of obvious dominance occurs, the loser is quick to back off. Some bulls rule a harem for years, fending off waves of challengers until defeated by a new beachmaster or old age.
Along the shore of Valdez, I spend hours watching creatures of a less quarrelsome nature. Feeding offshore but nesting on land, Magellan penguins gather here by the thousands. I'm always amused to see how their bustling brings to otherwise empty beaches an air of constant busyness. They call out like a close cousin of theirs I've seen in South Africa, named for obvious reasons, the jackass penguin.
Through the summer at Valdez, they pair off for courtship rituals that lead to mating. By late summer, after nesting in burrows or underbrush, penguin parents have raised young nearly to adulthood on pre-chewed squid they bring from the sea. The Valdez shore provides a safe nursery with few land predators. But as new generations of young here prepare to swim off to hunt on their own, they will confront dangers in the sea, adjacent to their quiet beaches.
Of all the juveniles lining the shore, I doubt any faces a greater peril than the young raised in the sea lion colonies of Valdez. My first impression arriving years ago was of an idyllic setting where carefree sea lions cavorted like sunbathers on an endless vacation. But I soon realized the serenity is deceptive. At the end of summer, as sea lion pups first enter the water, I saw a deadly menace appear just beyond the waves.
Roaming the coastline are orcas, commonly called killer whales, one of the super predators of the sea. Largest of the dolphin family, sometimes reaching 30 feet and 7 tons, they combine power and intelligence. Though Patagonia's orcas feed on a variety of prey, including penguins and elephant seal pups, they favor young sea lions. Able to distinguish the cries of newborns on shore, they arrive just when pups by the hundreds are venturing into the shallows. The predatory spectacle that ensues is one of the most extraordinary ever witnessed in nature. A lone orca scans the water's edge for an unsuspecting target. Ashore, watched by the adults, the pups appear safe in water too shallow to accommodate an orca. In fact, they are sitting ducks. The orcas of Valdez, unlike any observed elsewhere, have learned to charge directly onto the beach to catch sea lion young. The boldest of the orcas is a 35-year-old male researchers call Mel. When the tide is high, Mel makes a close pass, perhaps scouting his path of attack and his target. Moment begins in stealth, followed by a sudden explosion of speed and might. The helpless victim is dispatched in an instant, then consumed underwater. Mel will withdraw for a time, then return for more strikes before the tide ebbs. So lightning fast are the raids, so quickly does a youngster disappear, other pups and adults can appear confused. They rush away temporarily, but soon return to the water.
We humans rarely see a kill in the wild. Here, the simple act of the carnivore feeding is played out as if on a stage. There is even melodrama as an adult tries to distract the whale from the pup, to no avail. Watching, it's difficult not to root for a young and innocent creature. But unlike theater, there is neither good nor evil in the wild. Merely an efficient hunter, surviving on prey that are themselves ocean hunters of still smaller prey.
Researchers accompanying Pitcairn find Mel the most skilled of the Valdez orcas. To seize such a small moving target in murky surf requires extraordinary coordination and timing. Because a miscalculation could leave the attacker beached, orcas begin training to attack when they are only 6 months old. On this single day, the team watches Mel consume 8 sea lion pups, the most recorded in 10 years of observation.
For all its stark drama, orca predation merely keeps sea lion numbers in check. Of 1,000 pups born annually in Valdez, fewer than a quarter will be taken by orcas. Most will live on to reproduce as adults and maintain the colonies. In the harsh mathematics of the sea, the excess of one species feeds another, keeping both healthy. Valdez serves not only as a place where the sea is renewed by birth, but strengthened by death.
As winter approaches and sea lion pups grow too agile to be easily caught, Mel and his companions swim north to feed on fish and await the sea lion feast of next summer at Valdez. By early spring, right whales begin to reappear in the quiet bays of Valdez. A female is now accompanied by a newborn calf. Though nearly 20 feet at birth, the calf is thoroughly dependent on its mother for food and protection. It will not venture far from her back for an entire year.
At first, the mother carefully positions herself between the calf and me. I keep my distance. I understand her distrust, especially in the ocean wilds where her defenseless youngster could be attacked by orcas or sharks. Gradually, the mother draws close to inspect me, even as her calf is nursing. The youngster eyes me curiously, but remains perched on its mother. One of nature's most powerful defense weapons ensures the calf's safety. The mother's tail is so powerful it could knock me unconscious or even lift an attacking orca from the water. Finally, the mother seems to accept my presence, and the calf peels away for a closer look at me. In the months to come, under its mother's watchful eye, the youngster will grow ever more curious and playful, eventually turning the bays of Valdez into its private playground. Throughout its life, the calf will return to this special realm for half of each year. But where it goes in the sea beyond, and what it does there, remain unsolved mysteries. In a world increasingly dominated by humans, it pleases me to know great creatures still exist whose lives are mostly lived in secret.
From the realm of the southern right whale, Pitcairn journeys to the North Atlantic. At a unique gathering spot, he will enter the world of another extraordinary ocean behemoth. Most of us have never actually seen one, because their home is vast and they are few. Though it's one of the biggest creatures on Earth, most sightings of them are fleeting, little more than a glimpse. But if there was ever a place you might see one, this is it, Silver Bank, where the humpbacks of the North Atlantic come to breed. In the ocean, Theodore Pitcairn's favorite is the humpback whale. Now he's on his way to capture one special group of them on videotape.
The humpback has struck my fancy and I can't get enough of it. When I photographed them in the past, I was in Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. This time, I'm going to film some humpbacks that don't get very much attention, those that make their home in the North Atlantic.
Pitcairn will follow the humpback on a journey, because feeding and breeding, the main events in the North Atlantic humpback's life, take place thousands of miles apart. Feeding is a cold water enterprise, and there are a number of different feeding grounds spread from Massachusetts to Norway. But for mating and birthing, we believe there's one main place the whales go, the warm waters of the West Indies, and one prime spot, Silver Bank, off the Dominican Republic. Pitcairn's journey begins when his boat and crew leave Samana Bay for the bank, now a whale sanctuary. By the end of December, the first humpbacks begin to arrive, flaunting an assortment of parts. When, as occasionally happens, all these parts are visible together, they make up a leviathan. 50 feet and 50 tons of humpback whale. Silverbank isn't a place that attracts many whale watchers. One reason is the 12-hour trip from the nearest port. Another is the poorly charted waters. Then there's the coral, which once sank so many Spanish galleons laden with silver that it gave the bank its name.
The coral grows up from the bank all the way to the surface. It's a terrible hazard for a boat, especially since the area is completely exposed. We tie up and cross our fingers. Now that we're safely anchored, we're staying put, but I can't help noticing how a boat on Silverbank feels very small and very vulnerable. As soon as I get underwater, I see all the obstacles making Silverbank so unwelcoming to humans. The coral, the inaccessibility. But they're exactly the things that make it perfect for humpbacks. They're safe here. The coral is so dense, it's hard to imagine how a huge humpback maneuvers through it. What agility it takes. It's amazing. Thousands of humpbacks come here in the wintertime. Hundreds of calves are born, and I still haven't seen a single one of them. But then, as I come around an outcropping of coral, I look around and see something marvelous. It's a little hard to see, but there in the sand is the body print of a humpback. As strange as it sounds, humpbacks sometimes lie on the sea floor perfectly still. We think they're probably resting, though we don't really know. Still, I like imagining it. A drowsy humpback, leaving a faint trace, just like we would in our own beds if we were napping.
Once Pitcairn gets topside, he realizes he's not the only whale watcher camped on Silverbank.
Some good fortune has come my way. There's a group of people across the bank who've come to study the humpbacks. Their dedication leads them to anchor here for 8 weeks at a stretch and to live in cramped quarters. Perhaps we can meet to share both information and a meal. Whale research can be a lonely task. I suspect they could use a little diversion.
The research project is called YONA, an acronym for Years of the North Atlantic Humpback. Its mission is unprecedented, to investigate the humpback whale throughout the entire North Atlantic Ocean. David Matilla from the Center for Coastal Studies heads the work in the West Indies.
Generally in the past, humpback whales, I think in the general public's mind, they've been associated with the Pacific Ocean because that Alaska and Hawaii have been the focus of many documentaries, and they're very exotic and beautiful places to go to see whales. And perhaps they're a little bit easier to get to than Silverbank. But because of that, it seems that some of the public have not realized that there are indeed humpback whales, in fact, all sorts of whales in the Atlantic Ocean. And in fact, there are probably more humpbacks in the North Atlantic, we're pretty sure of that, than the Pacific.
No humpback research has ever had this scope. And when Yona's work is finally completed, the North Atlantic humpbacks will be the best-known whales in the world. One goal of the study is to figure out how many of the giants are in the North Atlantic. Before the humpbacks were hunted to near extinction, there were tens of thousands. The last census, taken 15 years ago, estimated there were about 6,000 left. Jona's researchers are going to update that number by counting every individual humpback they can. But scientists have one major problem. From a boat, their subject can only be seen in bits and pieces, and at first glance, they look remarkably alike. But about 20 years ago, researchers made a discovery. For the first time, they realized that every whale tail is different. Being able to tell one whale from another means there's less chance of counting the same whale twice. Pectoral fins are also used for identification. Dorsal fins and other parts too. But tails are best because they offer the largest variety of distinguishing marks. Population counts on whales can never be more than estimates, but Jona will make theirs with a larger sample size than has ever been available before.
Here's a Challenger right here.
If scientists can get a DNA sample from a humpback, they can answer a lot of questions, such as what the impact of whaling has been, and whether there's a large enough gene pool left to sustain the population.
Right in the left of the tube.
Researchers use a crossbow to shoot an arrow tipped with a hollow 2-inch dart.
Yes, sir.
Per Palsboll is coordinator of Jona's genetics project.
When the arrow hits the whale, it reacts. Just as if I took a little needle and I hit myself, I would do like this or something, a quick reaction. But none of us believe, and I think that any of what we have seen doesn't do demonstrate that there is no long-term effect. Of course, no one can say that for sure. The new techniques, the genetics, have evolved in such a manner that we can now use these very small samples. We don't have to kill a whale, which, say, 5-10 years ago, you had to kill a whale to get the same kind of information.
From one sample of skin and blubber, a scientist can do 50,000 tests and still have some left over for future study. Meanwhile, Pitcairn is meeting with less success in his attempt to film a whale.
One thing after another keeps me from getting any worthwhile filming done. Either the winds are blowing at 30 knots, or the water is cloudy, or the outboard motor is broken down. Sometimes I'll go out all day and dive 30 times trying to get footage. Every time I pull myself onto the Zodiac, I feel the 70 pounds of gear I'm carrying. I'm tired and frustrated. I write in my log notes, temper's frayed.
One thing Pitcairn knows is that it's usually futile to go searching for whales. He'll get close-ups of humpbacks only when they decide to come to him.
The humpbacks keep their distance. It's strange, though, even when I can't see any, I know they're around because I can hear them far off. Underwater, it's possible to hear their sounds from miles away.
And then, off in the distance, a familiar shape.
It's an extraordinary experience to see any whale for the first time. They're the biggest animals on Earth, and imagine, the humpback is only half the size of the biggest of all, the blue whale. But even so, it's dumbfounding, beyond belief. It seems impossible they could be descended from a land mammal about the size of a wolf. Today I got these two on film. A mother with her new calf. I was ecstatic. They were the first humpbacks in weeks to come and stay around for a while, and I filmed them every moment I could.
In the whale world, the closest ties are between a mother and her infant. Her offspring will drink 50 gallons of milk a day in order to gain 100 pounds a day, or 4 pounds an hour. A calf will stay with its mother for a year or so, often conveniently tucked in the traveling position, in front of the mother's dorsal fin and just above her. A female becomes fertile again a month after she gives birth, and her gestation period is about a year. Once a female conceives, she doesn't linger at Silverbank. Instead, she heads north to the feeding grounds. And when the females are gone, the males head north too. Humpbacks don't travel in groups. They set off mostly alone or in pairs. Their exact migration route is a mystery, but somehow they manage to travel thousands of miles over featureless terrain and always return to their home waters. By the time the humpbacks arrive at the feeding ground, they haven't eaten for 6 months. Instead, they've lived off their blubber. Now, they're ready to gorge. There are two kinds of whales, those with teeth and those like the humpback with baleen, a horn-like material we know as whale bone. Baleen acts as a sieve, straining out tons of water and leaving behind the plankton and schools of tiny fish this behemoth eats. Baleen whales don't chew. They just open their mouths and gulp, and hovering gulls get an easy meal from the humpback's leftovers. About 900 North Atlantic humpbacks feed in U.S. waters. One of their favorite places is Stellwagen Bank. The submerged bank lies in the middle of Massachusetts Bay, directly across from Boston and just north of Cape Cod. Like Silverbank, it's a marine sanctuary, but a little more accessible. Every day from April to October, the fans come to watch this marine marvel. The humpback's pectoral fins are its most noticeable feature. They're the longest of any whales, up to a third of its body length, giving the humpback an agility no other whale has. It's not surprising the humpback's scientific name is Megaptera, meaning big wing. Although most Atlantic humpbacks have white fins, those of most Pacific whales are black on top, one of the differences between the two. Humpbacks breathe through a blowhole on top of their heads. Their usual time underwater is 3 to 5 minutes, but they can stay under up to half an hour if they need to. A full-grown humpback can carry up to a ton of barnacles and other parasites on its body. Experts speculate getting rid of them is one of the reasons they do this. Yona's researchers continue their work during the summer, just across the bay from Stellwagen Bank. For Lisa Barrett, it's sorting pictures of whale flukes.
This represents all the flukes that I photographed in the 2 months on Silverbank. And they're all arranged from white to black, which is how we catalog the photographs. And they're laid out here so that there can be some internal matching done.
But Pitcairn is here for another reason.
I brought some footage from Silverbank to show to Yona, and a great thing happened. Lisa recognized one of the humpbacks she has been studying.
We looked at this and
The whale feeds here at Stellwagen Bank, and her name is Chimney.
And at first I thought, oh, this is not possible, you know. And then I realized...
But that wasn't all. My picture of Chimney and her infant was the first that anyone from Yona knew Chimney had had a calf.
Sometimes you have to match these guys with a trailing edge, but we were looking at the trailing edge.
I was pleased by the whole event, especially at being able to offer her a different view of Chimney than she'd ever seen before, one from underneath.
And I don't often get a chance to match using belly patterns and flippers. But here she comes again. And the belly pattern is really distinctive. I guess we don't use it much because we don't get to see it very much.
A human being can get from Massachusetts to Silverbank in a matter of hours. The fastest known humpback trip is 34 days by a whale named Trunk, and he had reason for hurrying. The urge that tells a humpback it's time to return to the mating ground and breed. On his last visit to Silverbank, Pitcairn will try to capture the humpback's mating behavior on videotape. On the mating ground, males vie for the favor of the fertile female. Here, she has her calf in tow. Every male that surrounds her wants the prized position at her side. Though the situation looks calm, the atmosphere is always tense. Blowing bubbles is one way the primary escort responds to a challenge by another whale, a warning equivalent to saying, keep your distance. If no one backs down, a challenge can turn into a brawl that often ends with someone slinking off, torn and bloodied.
I got one opportunity to film a competitive group. There were whales all around, by my side and underneath me. I usually assume a whale won't hit me, that it will see me and maneuver around me, but this was different. The whales were courting, and there was no doubt in my mind that I was totally irrelevant to them. They were excited, and that made the situation very intense. I completely forgot I had the camera. All my energy went into just trying to keep my wits about me. Even so, it was a thrilling experience.
Hey, you get something? Incredible dive.
I really wanted to film a humpback mating. Even though nobody is known to have done it before, I couldn't help entertaining the thought. Well, it's eluded me too. But luckily there are other pleasures while observing humpbacks on the mating ground, such as listening to them sing.
Singing is a talent for which humpbacks are famous. Back in the 1970s, their songs were made into a popular record. Singing is something males do. There even seems to be a singing position, vertical, with flippers extended.
I had a dramatic experience with a singing humpback once. I was in the water, and though I couldn't see any whales, I knew one was within 50 feet of me because it was bellowing so loudly. It was like being in an over-amplified rock concert. It was shaking my rib cage. I could feel all my internal organs vibrating.
We don't really know why a humpback sings, though perhaps a song is the way a female decides the suitability of a mate. Whatever the reason, we know of one song that lasted 22 hours.
Even after 3 seasons in the North Atlantic watching the humpbacks, I'm still an admirer who can't get enough.
Oh.
How could I ever tire of an animal that always makes me want to smile?
Thank you very much.
I hope that we can continue to find ways to protect this vulnerable species. And as we keep learning more about them, perhaps we can improve the quality of their existence so that there will always be humpbacks coming to Silverbank and increasing their numbers and relishing these waters. Someone once said, "There be few creatures in earth, air, or sea that lead a happier life or enjoy it with a greater zest than the humpback." It seems that way to me, too.